Welcome to
The Layered Tribe,
where we're unmasking blend reality. Hi y'all! Happy Wednesday. Just a couple more days left for our review of Blissfully Blended BS. I'm going to dive right in today because there's a lot of that I pulled out because I was like, ooh, that's just the reality of it. So today is just going to be the reality and some of the points that she pointed out that's like, this is just what it is. Starting off with what she says that one of the reasons that no one really understands what happens in a blend is because most families don't want to air their dirty laundry. Truth, reality, for real, nail on the head. When my husband, when I was telling my husband I was going to do this, he is highly uncomfortable. He is definitely an image person. He's like, I'm like, let's just tell it how it is. Yeah, I don't care. You know, he wants this to be crafted in a way like we figured out. We haven't figured out half the stuff that I'm talking about, half of it. We're working through it and we're trying, and I'm applying some stuff as I'm learning. We've figured out a lot. I should say, we're probably like 3/4 we figured it out. But the way life is you get new stuff to try to figure out all the time. Yay! And so we just have like new scenarios. Now, we do have some old scenarios that keep popping up because they haven't been fully resolved, or he doesn't like the resolution, or I haven't liked the resolution. So, yeah, that's the problem. Is everybody wants to have, especially in our social media world, everybody wants to look like they have a life that they don't have. So, another reason why I'm glad she wrote this book in the way that she did. Another reality that she talks about and touches on is disciplining, and how disciplining is different from your stepchild to your biological child, and how disciplining lines are kind of hard to maneuver when it comes to the new parent disciplining your biological child. One of the things that we learned about that is that there needs to be time. How much time is kind of fluid. And there's so much fluidity, it's kind of annoying. We just need like some hard set rules that would make life a little easier, but that's no such thing. But a relationship needs to be formed. Even if a relationship is formed, if you yell at your biological child, right, you just like lose your mind and you yell at them. Yes, they'll probably need therapy a little bit later, but are they going to love you less? No. Are they going to hold it against you? Are they going to feel like you don't love them? You know, and the reality is, on average, no. We all know that a step parent cannot yell at a kid the same way that a parent can yell at their kid. Because first of all, the parent's going to be like, excuse you? Second of all, the kid's going to be like, excuse you? So it's a whole ball of wax that is very hard to maneuver. And that's just another reality that you can plan, you can say ahead of time, this is how you're going to deal with it. But then when the rubber meets the road, whoa. Another hard reality that she talks about, how she's treated when the kids are around. And we had an absolute huge fight about this. Our first holidays was awful because of this. And she says, it's not that I hate having the kids around. Ditto. She's like, they are good and outgoing. But she's like, I know when they're around, I no longer exist. Or she's like, oh, I do exist, but I feel sort of like a mistress. Like I'm the woman who excuses why he can't live with his wife, but keeps hoping things will change. She's so funny. Anyway, but no, for real though. And it's like, and I can only talk for me. I'm actually going to have to ask him about this. But I know one thing that my husband said to me actually not too long ago. So we're almost 10 years in, going on 11 years. And he just told me it has been very difficult for me to learn a new role with everyone involved in my life. It's a new role. So even though he's been their father, because he's now married to me, it shifted how his role is with his kids. It shifted how his role is with his ex. It shifted how his role was in my life because now he has a new role in my life. It shifted his role with my kid. Honestly, I had never thought about it that way. And I'm like, you need a YouTube channel. But he said no. So I do understand, especially in the very first few days, that he did not know how to handle his kids and me in the same space. And didn't know how to handle it, and therefore it was handled badly, which resulted in me feeling just like what she just said. So that is a reality and does happen. Granted, more in the beginning of a relationship, especially than 20 years later. Definitely, it is the harsh reality. You might feel this. This is why people get to know this stuff. Another thing about feelings that she talks about is just like, if you think about your parents and your siblings, when you were growing up. You weren't invited to everything. There was no such thing as an invitation. You just barged into your brother's room. You just barged into your sister's room. They yelled at you and you yelled at them and you grabbed what you want. And you know, if y'all were actually lucky enough to have your own room, we shared a room for the longest time when I was growing up. So there's this level of informality with the people that you grow up with and your parents. Jackie kind of talked about that on last week's episode on last Thursday, but she talks about feeling so offended and feeling left out because he always assumed she wouldn't want to go do things or watch a TV show that he and his daughters were watching, or the invitation wasn't there to join. So therefore, because that invitation wasn't there to join, then it's an exclusion. So now you're like having to be like, hey, do you want to watch TV? Like, you don't do that. You just go and plop down on the couch if you want to watch it. If you don't want to watch it, you go somewhere else. So just the amount of feelings being hurt, harsh reality. She talks about just the negative feelings of thinking like, great, now I'm stuck in this mess. And this is it. This is it now. And that's a feeling, I think, even my husband, we have talked, this has been a conversation of ours. It's like, you know, what happens if we undo it now? Like, you know, and then every year, and then we just keep going years. But especially in the beginning, it was just like, are we stuck in this? This is it? And that's a harsh reality. That's a legit feeling that you're going to have when things are not going right. And the reality is in the beginning, especially in the beginning, they're not going to go right a lot. And that feeling is valid. It is valid. It's a sucky feeling. Another harsh reality is, and I've kind of talked about it, it's been throughout the book, is fighting about things that matter to one person that don't another. This is one of the things that my husband's like, Jenny, this is just basic marriage stuff. But I think it's heightened and it's escalated because now we're fighting on the behalf of our children on things that probably don't matter in the big scheme of things, but they matter to the children. And so now we're fighting that fight. And she just talks about the frustration of fighting over things where the level of importance is like, I don't think it's important. Why are we fighting over this? And that can go either way. It is a frustrating feeling that is experienced when dealing with harsh reality. Another harsh reality is prioritizing the marriage over the kids, or the kids over the marriage. Experts will say you need to prioritize your marriage over your children. Non-expert people who've lived through it are going to say you need to prioritize your child, or you're going to. I'm not saying need to. You're going to prioritize your child over your spouse. I am neither an expert, and I'm going to fall in the middle. I think it depends on the situation and what's going on. I think it's pretty hard to blanket say that the marriage overrides the relationship with your child. What I do realize, the harsh reality about this is, there is a choice, especially the older the child / adult child. As you're making decisions, depending on what the issue is, when you choose one, whether it's the marriage or the child, it is to the detriment of your relationship to the other. The other will not be happy because the other one is like, oh, well, they got their way. Well, good for them. And the other one's like, oh, well, they got their way. For good for them. What about me? So that is another harsh reality, as this constant juggling of the marriage and the children. And it's not fun, and it's not easy, and you're just this middleman person that hopefully, if there's a level of emotional maturity, which I'll get into later, that everybody can play on an even field, that you can deal with all the adults in the relationship, because it's not just the people in the marriage, it's also the biological parents, that it can be dealt with in a highly intelligent, factual way where everybody can handle it logically. Reality though? We wish. And her last point that I really liked that she said was that she hoped that this book would be a whole lot of a what the, but also a whole lot of, oh really? I hadn't thought of it that way. I would have to say there's a good balance of both. And I look forward to Friday's episode where I'm going to talk about I guess my favorite advice bits that she gave. But I really liked how she just was like, this is the reality. This is the harsh reality. This is the harsh reality. This is the harsh reality. Because there's a lot of harsh realities that nobody talks about. Nobody. Or very few people. Or, yeah. So, okay. Well, that concludes today's episode. Ciao, bye. Happy Modern Women Wednesday. Today we are focusing on moms, and we're talking about parental guilt when it comes to Christmas, holidays, gift giving, whatever umbrella you put it under, buying things for your kids. Back in the day, in the olden days, like probably even around the 80s, we didn't get that much. Definitely in the 60s and 70s, the commercialism that is the holiday season now was not in full force. It was starting, but it wasn't in full force. And kids today don't appreciate, because we live in America and there is so much. There are still kids in need, but I'm not talking to you. If you're watching this channel, more than likely your kids are not in need. And kids today get more stuff than ever before in the history of humanity. It used to be that Christmas was the only time you got something. Then it was Christmas and birthdays, and then it was Easter, and then it's Halloween, and now it's Dr. Seuss week, and now it's like it just goes on. I mean, and now, and I'm guilty of it too. We go to the store, the kid asks for something that's in our means. We're like, sure, why not? Sure you can get a toy. Sure you can get a squishmallow, squishmallow. There's just, we don't say no to the kids. And so when Christmas comes around, it's not, I mean, it's exciting, but come on, like excess is insane. And with the economy, I just wanted to share something that I ran across a few years ago, and I love it, and I still use the formula, and I've adapted it for my husband's grandkids as well. And it's getting your kids 4 things: something they want, something they need, something to wear, something to read. Something they want is clearly, give me your wish list. Get them something that they want. Something that they need could be something that can cross any of those categories. And it's something simple, and it can still be fun, but it can also be just a necessity. And then something to wear. This kind of like takes me back to when I was a kid and my mom would always give us socks and pajamas. And I realized that I don't buy my daughter pajamas except for really only on Christmas. So pajamas has kind of become my go-to thing for the wear, and I've just kind of incorporated that for my husband's grandkids. And something to read is so important. Y'all, we have got to get these kids off of the screens. And I think a lot of moms out there are actively working, but we can do more. We can do better. Reading is so important. I honestly still don't do enough of it. My husband's a reader, and he's a fast reader, and he will just read through stuff, and I can't do that. I did this. I was very stringent about it the first Christmas, and then when I finished and I was like, I'm done, and I checked off my 4 categories, I realized there really wasn't anything for her to play with. And so I do add on to the wants a couple of extra things to play, because that's Christmas, right? You open your presents and then you go play with your toys. Like, if there's no toys to play with. So I do add on 2 or 3 things, because the idea is, what can they play with today? So I know times are getting a little tight, and I know things are a little weird, but don't stress yourself. If you have already bought stuff, if you haven't, this isn't a judgment thing. If you want to buy your kids $10 million of stuff, okay. But, maybe they would just rather spend the day with you without any electronics, or do something fun, if you want to go that route also. So that's today's thought for all the moms out there. Go forth, you strong woman, you. Don't forget, we'd love to hear from you. We welcome comments, testimonials, thoughts, questions, or rant, either by submitting a form on our website or leaving a voicemail at 281-946-9886. This is Jenny, and I wish you strength, grace, and wisdom as you continue this tricky journey with your modern layered tribe. Bye.